Alright, this is going to be an update video because I haven't made an update for a while. I did actually make an update video some time ago, but I had trouble getting everything to record. So I'm going to keep an eye on everything to see that I am actually recording. Anyway, so nothing much has changed in the appearance of the project, but a lot of work has gone on in the background. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to work much on this for the last couple of months because I don't have the time. So please, if anyone is watching this and they have some money, I do have some options, a Patreon and stuff. If you want to sign up, at least a couple of people one day would be nice to just help out. I don't need too much to be able to get an extra day or two to focus on this. At the moment, I just don't have enough time to get my fingers into it, as it were. But we are almost finished what I'm going to talk about today. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, this is a project that I made. And as you can see, there's not a lot happening. So what is interesting about this? Well, there's different types of exporters now. So in the exporting thing, you may notice that there is a little use. You can't actually read it because it's hidden away. Use experimental output. What is that talking about? Well, so for the last, 6 months, I've been working on this. It's one of those things where you get 80% of the work done, and then the last 20% takes 80% of the time. But the idea is I'm changing the well, we'll just run the exporters. So I've forgotten how to do that. All right, here we go. So I've just exported everything. So hold on a second. All right, so this is the new version of the HTML JavaScript style exporting. So this is what I've been working on. So the reason I'm working on this is because ultimately the language has to update itself. It has to have much more advanced features than it currently does. For example, it needs to have proper local variables and things like that, and proper functions eventually. The problem was the way that I had the HTML output before. Like I wrote, it didn't the way that the multitasking is handled in the output wasn't up to the task of handling local variables, and it was written in a kind of weird way. So I rewrote it, and then I tried to use it, but the template engine, which can look very confusing, which is powerful but very annoying, it was such a headache to look at, to change everything over to the new code. Let's see if I can show it. That I thought, you know what, I'm going to write a much better way of doing a templating kind of engine thing, which I made a video about previously. Just a reminder. Hold on. The old code looks like ridiculous. It's way too complicated, and has no type checking, no nothing. I don't know if the code that it outputs is correct or not. So all this weird language thing here is just a language for outputting text in a structured format. And this is the old way that I did things, and as you can see, it just gets very confusing. I have to use all these constants. There's no way to know that I'm outputting proper JavaScript code. And so now, well, actually what we will do, we have a much nicer language. What's a good example of the language? I don't know if this is going to be a good example. So basically I'm writing out actual like JavaScript. So I've commented out a lot of stuff. That's the old stuff I'm using. So this is the new kind of format. I'm not going to explain any of what this does, but it's like it's two languages in one, and it's much more type checked, even though here I'm doing this. When I say any, I'm ignoring type checking here, but yeah, there's a lot more, like, so I know that it's outputting proper JavaScript code, and it's doing everything much nicer, and it's catching all the little bugs and errors and things that I forgot much better than before. So there's still lots of little quirks. Like I think it's a really interesting project. Like, this is actually very powerful, way more powerful than I thought. But there's still a bit of work to do to make it perfect. I won't say it's perfect, but to make it what I really think it should be. But at the moment, it's well usable as it is. So what I've actually, I mostly wrote this. So what I've been working on is translating the old code over to the new style thing at the same time of upgrading the multitasking or the multi-threaded support code. So most of the work for the last month or so, 2 months, 3 months actually, has been the translating and reworking out how to get the threaded code stuff to work. It's just that I had to go through and every so often you have to add new features to the base language and everything. But we're actually there. We're almost there. I mean, this is not ready to be used yet, but I will bring in, here's Chromium. We'll just bring in that, and we'll bring in my window, and we will dump this over here. So it looks very similar to what the in-app version looks like. So if I run that again, you can see there are actually differences. You can't quite, well, first off, this one, I think it's because it's the way that I use the timer. So it's, if I look at the code, there's some differences. So again, I'd have to export it out to Scratch and see how Scratch does it. There are two important differences, but the thing here, while I'm making this video, where I think I'm basically at the conclusion of this long journey, is, so you can see there are two differences. One is it stops the script halfway through. So in the code, there are different ways of stopping scripts. So one of them is if you delete a clone. So it handles the cloning events and all this kind of stuff. It handles like blocks and variables and all the basic commands and lots of other commands and printing things. And down, the green sprite has the interesting things. So the green sprite has a thing that makes it turn around in circles. It's got to stop the other scripts, so that one will stop that one. Prints out, stops that. It has to stop all of the scripts, which stops everything. So this bit here never gets executed. And so this is what's happening here. But the interesting thing, of course, is that this stop all in the thing always seems to stop it. So there are a few things. First off, this is out by one frame, and these are different frames that it's stopping on. And also the in-app version, the internal running virtual machine for the code stops it halfway through the drawing thing. So that's stopping it through a function that doesn't require a screen update. Well, I would call them turbo function because it does update the screen still. Whereas this one always stops it at the end of that. And I think that's actually just an artifact of the order in which the multitasking code is run. Like, I was going to do a video about how you really should understand what's going on and the different types of threads and the points at which threads are doing things. But I think the difference is this one here is just the green. This sprite happens to be at the front of the queue when it comes to doing all the commands. So the stop all, so what I mean by that is this thing here is going stop all, and it's doing it at the very start of the frame. And so it's causing this to stop before it does another turn. Whereas on the internal version, this thing's done the turn left, then this thing is doing its stop all command. and that is the thing. So it's actually got one little extra turn left out of it, and also it's already started to draw this circle, but I think it's actually got something to do with the wait time. So I think in here the time is always red at the start of the frame, and whereas I think the internal thing is actually always testing the system clock. So it's kind of like it's a more accurate clock. But I'll have to check that. Again, there'll be some fine tuning to make sure it reruns. I have to check with the old version. Do I actually have the old version? Just the test. What did I call it? Hold on. We will just check. I will also just check that I'm still recording. I am still recording. That's good. So I am going to run that. I just have to find out. One of these that's the new version. This is the old version. Test original. Oh, that's easy, isn't it? Okay, where did I put the... So in here is the current version, the current output that you would get from the last released version of Glitter. So what does it do? It goes around and oh my gosh, it's exactly the same as... My computer's gone a bit slow. Always a worry. It's exactly the same as that one. Oh no, it's not exactly the same. You've still got the same sort of quirks. So again, I don't think these are bugs, but you get the same kind of behavior where it's halfway through. So again, I'll have to have a good think about why. This one is still out by a frame. It's still one frame ahead from when this one stops. But it is doing a partial draw of the circle. So some interesting things. But anyway, that is what I've been... Oh my gosh, what's going on? What is killing everything? Is it this? No. Nope. Is it that one? Okay, we're going to have to check that over. So there are still issues, but we are almost there. So the things that I haven't included yet. So I haven't got the sound output and I haven't got the scene stuff added in. They should be pretty straightforward because that's just I'm not changing any of the code that was generated. It's the same kind of code that used to be there. It's just changing to the new format. The tricky part has been getting like the stopping and waiting, and you can kind of see this because I haven't finished the internal runner also has an experimental engine. So if we turn that one on, and we'll see what happens when it runs. It doesn't quite do everything the way it's supposed to do. So it's semi-working, but it stopped doing this. And I think I know what the bug is with that, because I had the exact same problem. That my way of doing the fast code, there was a tricky part which I fixed in the my point being is that the work I've done on the JavaScript output is going to apply to the new version of the internal running virtual machine. So in the future, in a very perhaps probably not the next version, but the version afterwards, maybe the next version, both the new experimental IR engine should work as I want it to, and the new JavaScript engine should work. And then that will be like, well, you rewrite everything and nothing has changed, but they will both be set up to incorporate lots of new interesting features. Certainly local variables should come soon after that, and that should be fun. I would like to make sure that the local variables work on the Scratch output. Like, I know how I would do this. It's just tedious to do it, and it's like, what's the point? I quite like the idea of having this kind of approach. So this is a meta language here. This is the actual programming language. This is an actual function in that, which is different to the function in the output code, which is just written like you normally would write. This is an output code. This is not a function running in the language. This is the function running in the language. But I'd quite like to, so I want this framework to also not just be for JavaScript, but also for Java and C output, so that I can move on to making the SDL linked C output for super fast and super, more flexible and smaller code generated compilation. So your Scratch project should turn into something really awesome. It's going to be that will be way faster than like Turbo, whatever it's called, and Penguin mod. So that should be fun. But this is kind of being written thinking about how am I going to do this for C. But also, I quite like to do it create a language which is a simplified text version of Scratch, but with inside here. And you might be like, well, isn't that what Glitter is? Glitter is like Scratch but in text, but not really. It's a language that looks a bit like Scratch, but it's compiled into Scratch, but it isn't Scratch. It doesn't work the same as Scratch exactly, and we'll have more and more features. So the idea is this code, this approach is how I would write the Scratch output. So I'm thinking about using, and I wouldn't do that for Scratch 2. I'd do that for Scratch 3 code because I haven't got a Scratch 3 exporter. But I'll do that, and then I think I can write in all the extra support code and all the extra support stuff like currently is needed for like scenes and stuff in a much easier way. So again, the Scratch output could also become quite powerful, and I can have the features that you don't actually have in the language, like local variables and things, and arrays that you can pass as parameters to functions. That would be cool, but you can't do it in Scratch. But you could do it in Scratch if you hack it around and you do lots of weird things, but it's just really tedious to do that by hand. So you never know, that might happen. But anyway, what I'm planning to do, I've had a bit much, of this. So I've been working on this for a long time. There's lots of cool things here, but as I haven't made any updates for a while, it's time to do something a bit different. So last time I did the sprite sheet tool. This time I think it's time to give a little bit of love to the Commodore 64 output projects. So the next thing, and I've been thinking about it, and I'm pretty sure it should be straightforward. I won't say straightforward, but like there's a nice way of doing it, I think. So basically, you'll be having a sprite editor and a character editor and probably a bitmap editor, even though the current version of the code probably isn't going to produce large project things. You're not going to have multi-file projects for a while, or projects that use a RAM drive. So having a bitmap is just going to take up most of the space in your project. But I'm going to have it anyhow. So they'll be we'll be making a new project. Save current first. All right, ignore all that. Well, I'm going to fix that bug one day. So the bug there being that it says it's going to it's going to close this project, but it never does. It's still there. So the C64 projects will then have, for the first version, it will just have sprites and sprite sheets and character sets and bitmaps, and you'll have to do everything on the stage. You'll have to like say there'll be like a command, set sprite. I don't know what it's going to be. You're going to be like, you're going to have like move sprite, and it's going to have sprite 0. That's sprite 0 to 20, 30, whatever on the screen, and you'll be able to set the costume with a command. So they won't be sprites, and they won't be like scenes and stuff like there is in the Java in the Scratch version, but that is what will happen the next bit afterwards. So these kind of C64 projects, there'll be kind of two, I guess. There'll be the old style, which is just the working and things. So you'll be able to create sprites and character sets and use them, but all the scripts will be just from the stage. But there will also be multiple. You can have multiple. One thing I will add in is multiple scripts for an object. So here you just have one text block for this sprite, but you'll be able to have like add another tab, and then you can have more code, just so that you can lay out your code more. If there's a lot of code for one particular object, you might have different tabs, but they will still be basically treated as one giant text file in a way. And this will happen here. But I'm really excited about it because I'm pretty sure I can make it a pretty awesome sprite and tile editor. It's going to work basically with this exact same editor, so all of these drawing functions will be available. The only thing that's going to change, this area here doesn't make sense for a C64, so I'm going to change this to reflect the actual nature of how Commodore 64 graphics work. So it only has 16 colors, and you have to choose. It's quite different to just drawing whatever color you want. So there's not going to be pixel art. There's not going to be these functions. There's just going to be you draw and that's it. But there will be an erase option, and this area here will probably disappear. I'm thinking there might be different sheets for the different sorts of color styles that you might have. But basically all of the sprites, there won't be different frames. All of the sprites will be edited on one big sheet, and you just work across the borders, and there'll be white lines. There'll be like guidelines to show you where each sprite starts and ends. Over here there might be some stuff to like build an animation to test the animation. So you might say these 4 frames going across in a line are an animation or something. So there'll be some extra functions to work around working with different sprites groups. But I think the major problem, to be honest, the least fun is just going to be GUI work, trying to so because I'm going to find that a bit tedious and boring, I'm going to start on the somewhat clever way of using this framework to edit Commodore 64 graphic styles, which are very different to bitmap. The straight bitmap you might get on a modern computer, but I think you'll be able to edit multicolored and single color sprites, and you'll be able to do multicolor sprites with an overlay all pretty easily. I've got like a clever way. I'm like, oh gosh, that's the way I want to do it. That way works well. Just get into animation and everything else. Working might be a bit trickier. Like I might end up having that you have to define animations and you're just picking out frames, but yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Anyway, thanks for listening to my current update, and I shall see you in the next video. And also, please, if anyone's watching this, if they want to give some money or something, because honestly I need money, and I really want to finish and work on this project, but I have lots of other things I have to do and want to do. So if I can get some money, then I don't have to work so much, then that would be really awesome. So thanks and bye.